Something lifted tonight. You may not have a name for it yet, but if you have been paying any attention to yourself over the last several months, to the quality of your energy, to the strange friction that kept appearing between your intentions and their results, you already felt the moment it changed, not dramatically, not with a sound or a signal, the way a tide turns, the way pressure releases, the way a room feels different after a window has been opened that was sealed all winter. Something is different right now than it was yesterday, and what is different is this. For the first time since 2025, every single planet in the solar system is moving forward simultaneously. Mercury, which spent weeks retracing the same degrees of Pisces like a messenger who kept forgetting what they came to say, is direct. Jupiter, which pulled 4 months of expansion inward into a compression so dense that growth felt indistinguishable from stagnation, is direct. Mars, carrying everything the last 40 days of Piscean water distilled in the warrior's blood, has crossed into Aries and is moving forward, and the slow outer planets, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, every single one is in forward motion. Not one planet anywhere in the solar system is retrograde right now. Not one is reviewing, not one is pulling against the current. All of them, forward, at once. This has not happened since 2025, and it will not happen again until the window closes in approximately 7 weeks. 7 weeks of unobstructed forward motion across the entire sky. 7 weeks where the drag that has been built into the architecture of the cosmos for months simply does not exist. 7 weeks where what you build moves with the current instead of against it. The window just opened, and most people will not know until it has already been open long enough for the first 72 hours, which are always the most potent, to have passed. But you are here now. And the first thing I need to tell you about this window is something no surface forecast will mention, because it requires understanding not just what is happening, but what the months before it actually were. Because the retrogrades you just lived through were not interruptions. They were not obstacles. They were not the universe working against you. They were the preparation. Here is the truth about retrograde periods that most readings invert entirely. When a planet goes retrograde, it does not take its gifts away from you. It takes them inward. It moves the energy from external manifestation into internal fermentation. Jupiter retrograde in Cancer for 4 months did not stall your expansion. It directed your expansion toward the roots, toward the basement of your emotional architecture, toward the foundation of what you believe you deserve and what you believe is possible for your life. And the expansion that happens at the root level is not visible at the surface. It does not produce results you can point to. It produces depth, and depth, when forward motion returns, becomes reach. Mercury retrograde in Pisces for weeks did not corrupt your communication. It redirected your communication inward. It ran its fingers along every story you tell about yourself and tested which ones held under pressure. The stories that dissolved were not true. You knew they were not true before the retrograde began. Mercury retrograde simply removed your ability to maintain them comfortably. And Mars in Pisces for 40 days did not weaken your drive. It submerged your drive in water and asked it to learn a different kind of force. The force that does not announce itself. The force that cuts deep precisely because it moves without resistance. All of that preparation is now behind you. And what the months of retrograde built in you is exactly the material the 7-week window is about to put to work. This is not a coincidence. This is the mechanics of how cosmic cycles operate. The retrograde is the growing season. The direct motion is the harvest, and you have been growing since November. Now let me tell you what this window actually feels like inside the body, because the body always registers these shifts before the mind can categorize them. And if you have been paying attention to yourself in the hours since the configuration completed, you may have already noticed something specific, a lightness in the chest that is not exactly hope. Something quieter than hope, more structural. The way a building feels lighter after something has been removed from its upper floors. Not because the building changed, but because the weight that was distributed through it is gone. Some of you noticed it as an unusual quality of attention in the morning, the mind arriving in the present moment without the retrograde's characteristic backward drag. Normally you wake and the mind begins its review. The unfinished conversation. The decision still circling. The thing from 3 months ago that keeps returning. This morning that review was quieter than it has been in a long time. Not absent, quieter. As if the volume on the past was turned down slightly and the present moment was allowed to take up more of the room. And some of you have been feeling something in your hands, a readiness, a warmth, The specific sensation that comes when something you have been holding in the preparation phase for a long time is finally about to move from thought into action. Your hands know before your mind announces it. They have always known, and right now they are warm with the specific heat of a beginning that has been waiting long enough. Here is what 7 weeks of all planets direct means in practical terms, because this is not a spiritual concept. It is a mechanical reality with specific implications for the decisions you make and the actions you take inside it. When planets are retrograde, every action you take is moving through a field with drag built into it. The drag is not punishment. It is the cosmos slowing things down so that what is not yet ready cannot outpace its own foundation. But it means that effort applied during a heavy retrograde period produces less movement per unit of energy than the same effort applied when the sky is clear. It means that the conversation attempted during Mercury retrograde carries a distortion the same conversation would not carry when Mercury is direct. It means that the launch attempted during Jupiter retrograde misses a dimension of expansion that would have been available with Jupiter moving forward. For 7 weeks, that drag is gone. For 7 weeks, the conversations land the way you intended them. The decisions carry the full weight of your intention rather than half of it. The projects you begin have the complete current of the sky behind them, rather than half the current, with the other half running in reverse. This is not a small thing. This is the difference between rowing with the river and rowing against it. The same effort, radically different distance covered, and this specific 7-week window carries a weight that most years simply do not hold, because the sky these planets are moving forward through is not an ordinary sky. Saturn and Neptune are conjunct at 0 Aries, the rarest celestial meeting in recorded human memory. 9,000 years since these two planets last stood together at the first degree of the zodiac, and every planet that just cleared its retrograde is now moving forward directly through the influence of that conjunction. The question Saturn and Neptune are asking together, which is the most structurally significant question the sky has posed in 9,000 years, is this: what in your life is built on something real? And what has been sustained entirely by a story? And for 7 weeks, every planet in the solar system is helping you answer that question through action rather than deliberation. This is why the first 72 hours of this window matter more than the remaining 7 weeks combined. Not because the energy is stronger in the first 3 days, because the decision you make at the opening of a window determines which direction you are facing for its entire duration. A window is a direction, not a duration, and the direction you choose when you first step through it is the direction all 7 weeks of forward momentum will carry you. If you choose the familiar direction, the comfortable direction, the direction that requires no renegotiation of who you have been and what you have been reaching for, 7 weeks of forward planetary motion will deliver more of what you already have, which may be exactly what you want. But if you choose a different direction, if you use the opening of this window to begin something that has been in preparation for long enough that the preparation itself has become a form of postponement, 7 weeks of unobstructed sky will move it further than you can currently calculate. The ancients understood this principle with a precision modern culture has largely lost. The Babylonian astronomers, who maintained the oldest continuous record of celestial observation in human history, marked the moment all wandering stars moved forward simultaneously as what they called the opening of the path. Not metaphorically, architecturally, they understood the sky as a living structure, and when all its moving parts aligned in the same direction, they treated it as a corridor that existed for a limited time between one configuration and the next. And they prepared for the opening of this corridor the way a traveler prepares for a long-awaited departure, not by waiting until the corridor opened and then deciding where to go, by knowing exactly where they were going before the door swung open so that the first step through was already the right step. You now have the same opportunity. The corridor is open. The question is not whether you are ready, because ready is a concept that exists to prevent beginnings, not to prepare for them. The question is whether you know where you are going, whether the thing you have been building in the dark of the retrograde months has a direction attached to it, whether the fermentation that happened in the sealed cellar of the last several months has produced something with a destination, and I suspect it has, because here is what I have observed across cycles like this one. The people who feel the shift most acutely, the ones whose chests lighten and whose hands warm and whose minds arrive in the present moment with unusual clarity, on the day the window opens, these are always the people who were doing the most significant work during the retrograde. The ones who allowed Jupiter's retrograde to actually reach the root level of what they believed was possible for their lives. The ones who let Mercury's backward motion run its fingers along the seams of their stories and acknowledged which ones no longer held. The ones who stood in the Piscean water long enough for the water to take what it came to take. The intensity of the shift you feel at the window opening is proportional to the depth of the work you did while it was sealed. And if you are feeling it, you were doing the work, even if you did not know you were doing it. Now let me be precise about what this window is asking of you. Because the opening of a 7-week direct period is not an invitation to do everything you have been postponing simultaneously. That is the misuse of this energy that most people fall into. They feel the lifting of resistance and they interpret it as a signal to accelerate in every direction at once. And what happens when you accelerate in every direction at once is that the forces cancel each other out and you end up moving nowhere at exceptional speed. The window is asking for one direction chosen with full commitment, one beginning made real rather than theoretical, one action taken tonight that converts the preparation into movement, not a plan, not a strategy session, not a list of intentions reviewed and revised, an action. The kind that once taken cannot be untaken. The kind that makes the beginning real to the people around you and to the version of yourself that has been waiting for proof that this time is different from the last time you almost began. Because almost beginning is a posture the retrograde months encourage and the direct sky does not reward. The current is moving. You either enter it or you watch it from the shore and wonder later why 7 weeks passed without the movement you felt certain was coming. Here is the practice this window requires. It is not elaborate. It does not need to be. Tonight, before this day closes, write one sentence on a physical piece of paper. Begin it with these exact words: I am beginning. Then finish the sentence with the name of the specific thing you are beginning. Not the category, not the general direction. The specific thing, the one your body recognized before your mind could edit the answer. Write it. Fold the paper once. Place it somewhere visible, not hidden in a journal, on a surface where you will see it in the morning when the day begins. Then tomorrow, before anything else, take one physical action toward what you named. Not a large action. The first action first. The kind that a beginning requires to become real, rather than remain theoretical. Send the message. Make the call. Write the first paragraph. Take the first step in the direction the paper is pointing. Because the 7-week window does not reward contemplation. It rewards motion. And the motion you begin in the first 72 hours will be carried by the full current of an unobstructed sky for the remaining 7 weeks. This is what the window is. This is what it offers. This is what is available to you right now that will not be available in the same configuration again until the next time the sky clears completely. The preparation is finished. The fermentation is complete. The cellar door is open. What was always becoming is now allowed to arrive. What moved in you while you listened? Not the considered version, the first thing, the one that surfaced before you had time to decide whether it was appropriate to acknowledge it. Write it below. Someone will scroll to that comment in a different time zone later tonight, carrying the same weight of months of retrograde drag, looking for confirmation that the current they can feel shifting beneath them is real. Your words are that confirmation. One sentence, the true one. Subscribe and turn on the bell. 7 weeks moves faster than you think when the sky is clear. What the next several days reveal about the shape of this window will determine how you navigate what comes after it. You will want to be here when it unfolds. The universe has spoken. What comes next is in your hands.